Hello everyone, welcome back to another tutorial presented by Code Cyclone. Today we're going to look at a custom pawn effect system that I have written this week. I was thinking about it the other day and didn't really know of any nice way to do it, so I sat down with some paper and figured this one out. And it's actually a very simple system, so it's not hard to understand or implement for that matter. Even if you want to do it by yourself, you should be able to, after this video, write it out, almost on your own without having to review this too many times. So anyways, let's go ahead and create a class, and we'll call it TGC effect. Alright, and it's going to extend object. You really can extend whatever you want. I just chose objects low on the totem pole. Not much to it, so it's not big in size as far as objects go. Alright, we have a variable string, and it's called effect name, and that's just the title of the effect. How long you want it to last, and what time it's supposed to expire as a floating point number, because as we learned before, at least the way UDK handles it is that it's a floating point number for time. Alright, we have two simulated functions, one called run, which takes in a TGC pawn, which is the effect D, and expire, which takes in a pawn as well. And right now they don't do anything, this is just a blank effect, so we're returning. And then we give it a default name of TGC effect. Now, for those of you that aren't very CS savvy, the reason we made these two functions here was because as a good modular programmer, what you want to do is create classes that can be inherited from. So now what I've done is I've created a subclass TGC effect underscore speed modification, and I've extended our TGC effect. Inside there I've added a float modification, which actually could be an integer in this case if it really wanted to, and we've overridden the simulated function run. Alright, we're redefining it, so to speak. And what we're doing is we're saying effect D, which is a pawn, dot ground speed, which is how fast on a plane the pawn will move. The ground speed is equal to whatever modification is. And then this boolean here is something I use in my pawn to detect whether it's in certain states, and this boolean will override if it's in those states. It'll just stop it and keep the speed. That way every tick when it updates it won't kill this and then put it back on, kill this and put it back on, that kind of idea. Alright, and then when we expire, we're going to take off that boolean. You actually don't have to do anything for your pawns, since you guys probably don't have that in there. If anything, you may want to set your ground speed back to normal, so you could say effect d.ground speed is equal to, some number that you want it to be, just its normal speed, or in my case, which I'll actually show you real quick, I actually keep a running and walking speed, so if it was my case, I could say, dot ground speed is equal to effect D dot running speed, and that would have effectively reset my player. But I already have a function that does that on the fly, so don't have to worry about that. The effect name is speed modification. The modification is going to put it to 2000. Its duration is 10 seconds. Okay? Now, we have our effect set up as a class. Now what we need to do is make sure that our pawn can store and run these things. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our pawn, our TGC pawn is what I have mine as, and I have two things. One, you guys don't have to worry about this boolean, that's for me. I'll make that a little bit bigger. But I have this dynamic array of TGC effects called effects. Alright, now if we go down, we have these two functions. See if I can get them both in. I can't. The first one being simulated function add effect, and it takes in a TGC effect. Now what it's going to do is it's going to take the effect and add it to our array. What it's going to do next is set its expiration time equal to the current time plus its duration. So if the duration is 10 seconds, it's now plus 10 seconds. So in 10 seconds from now, it will expire. Then we check if the controller is a player controller, so it's a human player using this, which I believe there's other ways to do this. I think there's some Booleans that advocate this as well, but I just chose this way as an easy and dirty way of doing it. If it is, let's go ahead and add a message. Since we have the messaging system from a past tutorial on this pawn, why not use it? So we know that it's there. So if it is, we're going to add a message to the player controller. We're going to give it the name, a space, and then the effect that it's received, and then, as you saw in the last tutorials, whatever, I think it was location, font, and a couple other variables. You can look back at that previous tutorial if you want. What it's going to do next is clear the timer for run effects, just in case it's already running. It's going to reset the timer to 1, so every second it's going to loop, that's what this true is, and it's going to run effects, this function, alright, in single quotes, which we define here. We have simulated function run effects, we have an integer I and a TGC effect. If our effects are greater than 0, so we have something, we're going to do this logic, but first if we don't, we're just going to clear the timer, so there's nothing to do. Alright. But if there is, we're going to loop through each one. That's what this for loop is doing. It's pulling out each effect at iteration. If the effect is not expired, so if the expiration time has not occurred yet, then we're going to tell it to run, effect.run, and send in the pawn itself. That's a keyword in Unreal for whatever you're currently in. If you're used to C# or Visual Basic, it's this or me. Those are the two keywords that you should be used to for that. If it is expired, we're going to send another message to our player controller saying that it expired. We're going to tell the effect to expire, which if you go back, we define that function here to do some functionality on the out, so when it's done running it'll expire. And then we tell our array to remove the item. And then it returns. Simple as that. Now, in order to demonstrate this, I've created a sequence, which we've done in previous tutorials. If you don't know how to do that, I suggest going back and referencing those. You can actually ignore this thing, because I never got it working. I was trying to get it where if you use some of the Unreal classes, like Actor class, for example, and you select what player controller you want, you actually have like a listing of them. Still haven't figured that one out yet, but when I do, I'll let you guys know. So you can ignore this one for now. But it has a variable of TGC pawn, which is called player, and it links it through the variable links. And when it's activated, it basically creates a new effect, a speed modification effect, and adds that effect to the player. Simple enough, right? Now I've gone ahead and made a trigger volume around this little static mesh so I can find it. And the Kismet's not too complicated. Alright, when it's touched, we send over the player to give effect. Really that simple. Nothing that crazy. So if we run it, oop, went right through the level. There we go. So you can see I'm running slow, but when I run through this thing, my speed picks up pretty fast. And now I'm trucking like there's no tomorrow. Pretty sweet, right? Fupa. Oh, the effect ended. And as you can see, I'm back to normal speed now. But if I go back in here, there we are again. Off we go. Pretty cool if I say so myself. It's amazing what you can do with some paper and pen instead of sitting at the computer and working some of this stuff out. So, let that be a lesson. Nah, I'm just messing with you guys. But seriously, sometimes it does help just to get out of the chair and go outside and think for a little bit and just think about how you could do these things. Because I remember when I made my first game, we made triangulation. The effects are very, very crude. They each have their own unique timer, and it's very, very savage as far as code goes. Not scalable at all. I actually might spend some time this week putting this system in there just because it's so useful. So, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I know I did. Definitely one of the better things I've written this week. Just in case you guys weren't aware, if you're at GDC right now, my co-founder and I, Clayton Donnan, he's out there and he's walking around handing out serial keys for triangulation, so you get a nice, cool version of triangulation. If you haven't checked out our site in a while, feel free to do so at codecyclone.com. If you have any other questions or want to see our other tutorials. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at videos@codecyclone.com, or cburkhart, that's CBURKHART, at codecyclone.com. You can reach me there. You can also post on the YouTube channel, but just giving you fair warning, it may be 2 or 3 days before I see it, just because I'm not always in the office. But I will try my best to get back to you, and I promise I will, okay? I've had some guys who thought I took a little too long. I guess, 24 to 48 hours is too long for them. But in either case, I still helped them out, so hopefully you guys get all the answers you need from this, and as always, can't wait to see you guys next time, so take care.